Hello, it's the Great Canadian Bagel here, coming to you with a new sub-series for the U.S. midterm elections, this time about, specifically, the Arizona gubernatorial and senatorial elections. Now, starting, just to disclose, this is a slightly different permutation of the model. There is different data available, generally speaking, less data available for these state level races. So there has been tweaks to account for this, so there is a lot more uncertainty because of that, because obviously the model had to be changed to handle a different category of race compared to when we're talking about the House of Representatives or like a parliamentary election. Those are different types of elections in this one, so the model's slightly different. And also there's a lot less polls, so there's a lot less detailed polls. And by that I mean polls that actually have cross tables. Now, the polls without cross tables are probably going to get you decent for the popular vote, but if you're talking about projecting it by county, the cross tables are very important to actually get a proper county level projection. So before anyone in comments below is like, I really don't think that county's going that way, it very well might not. There's just not that much data. This is a best estimate of it. Some of these I think are going to be very likely, like if Mojave County doesn't go GOP, I'll be surprised. But we'll see. So now, with that out of the way, this is the first one, so there's not too much to say about having it changed for the gubernatorial race. But, well, here we are. Now, there's been some discussion that the Republicans shouldn't have nominated Kari Lake because her Trump affiliation, endorsement by Trump, is going to weigh her down in the state. I don't think so. Her opponent, first off, has also her primary opponent in her primary race has endorsed her. So really, you can't say Lake herself was that divisive, or else she would just not have said anything. Unless I'm misreading Arizona, and that's a normal thing you do, in which case, well, there you go. But, so that already kind of puts you an inkling there that, yeah, she's probably not as extreme as the media likes to paint people as. And the other thing to note in general, as I said before, people like Katie Hobbs and the Democratic Party generally come with a view of what should be done to improve the world. What can we make Arizona better by doing? I didn't follow the primary too closely, so I don't want to necessarily say Miss Robinson did not have any plans or coherent strategy, but Kari Lake very definitely does. So the idea that nominating someone who very clearly has ideas and a plan to go forward is going to hurt you is naive. That's just not how modern elections work. Will it be a tight race? Well, right now it says it's tight, but keep in mind most of the polls that have been done that are useful for this have been in July, when Lake was relatively new to the scene. I mean, she's not the most new to public life. She was a journalist, but relatively new to politics. Hobbs is much higher name recognition, generally speaking. She was the former, or is the current, I suppose. I can't think of the office, but state level office in Arizona. I'm blanking on the name. If any viewers are from Arizona, or anyone knows, feel free to correct me. Or not correct me, just even say it in the comments below to clear it up. So it's pretty clear to me that I suspect actually Lake's numbers are going to get better as we get close to Election Day. This is probably your point where she's the least well-known, and the average person in Arizona is likely to know her the most from what the mainstream media has said about her. and not what she says herself. And as her campaign starts going and chugging and people actually get her words, I think her numbers are just going to go up. I don't think she's going to win as hard as Doug Ducey did in his re-election, because he was an incumbent. Incumbents typically have an advantage. But I don't think she's going to be narrowly winning like this. My money and my gut feeling says she'll probably get above 50, but we will see going forward. Now, if she doesn't get above 50, I think the other alternative is she just decisively loses. I think she either decisively wins or loses, though since she's already currently ahead by my modeling and in raw polling, I'm going to say she's going to probably get above the 50 margin and just outright win. Now, technically, winning by one vote in Arizona is an outright win because I don't believe there is runoffs. But either way, I think she's going to decisively win. And right now, because of the polls that have come out, there is suggestion that there's going to be a lot of independent or libertarian vote share in this race. I don't really think that's going to happen, because if you look at the cross tables again of a lot of these polls, what you see is, so basically a lot of Republican voters in this particular election, or registered Republicans, that is, sorry, are saying they're voting third party instead of voting for Lake or Hobbs. I don't think that's going to happen. I think what you're going to see right now, my model has about 6%. I think that 6% of Republicans who say they're going to vote third party is probably going to fall down to 1 or 2%, and then you're going to see Lake get closer to about 90 to 95% of Republicans voting for her once you actually get to election day. And just that alone should push her above 50%, give or take. And that's why I think she's going to get above 50%, because right now she is trailing. She only has 89% of Republicans backing her. She has a 10-point lead among independents over Miss Hobbs. But I suspect the independents are probably not going to move too much at this point, and the Republicans who are not currently supporting Lake will probably rally towards her. But we will see. Now with that, let us move on to the senatorial race. These are going to be briefer videos because there's less to talk about. So just as a reminder to everybody, not a lot of polls, different permutation of the model, same methodology but different implementation. So there is more room for error here compared to my regular projections, and there's a bit less confidence on these. I don't normally project like margins of error because I don't particularly find them that useful, because again, a margin of error on a model that in practical terms is only going to be used once is kind of meaningless. Yes, I mean, technically speaking, statistics does have margins of error, and you can always project a margin of error, but the thing is, well, you can't verify your margin of error. Your margin of error says if you do this a bunch of times, you're going to get a certain result. Polls, it makes sense, because the polls are saying this is the error bar. It doesn't really make sense for this model, but normally I say the margin of error is for my regular races on the popular vote. It's about plus or minus 2. I think it's probably closer to plus or minus 3 or plus or minus 4 right now, because again, all these considerations. Fewer polls, different permutation. But with this, it looks like Mark Kelly is going to narrowly pull out a win here, about 1.6 percentage point win. Much narrower margin than the special election in 2020 against Martha McSally, though not terribly so. And I'm just going to double check here on my other screen, but I'm pretty sure most of that decline, most of that decline would be coming from Mark Kelly's side. So Mark Kelly's losing about 0.7% of his vote share, and the Republicans are still roughly around 48.8. technically Masters at 48.9. So a lot of what I've said about Lake is also going to apply here with Masters. I don't think he is actually going to perform worse than his more generic primary opponent was. I say generic because more establishment-esque Republican. I don't think he's going to perform worse than him. I think it was a him. I don't recall his name. And I do think he does have a distinct chance of winning. Because if you looked at the August polling average of 2020, Kelly was up like +8 or +9, and then on an actual election day, he was up +3, give or take. It was like 2.5, actually. So he's only up plus math 1.6 right now. I think there is a distinct chance once you start seeing the September-October numbers that he will actually turn this around. Masters, that is. And one of the pieces of evidence for this, there's two. Again, back to party registration things. So 9% of registered Republicans in Arizona say they're going to vote for Kelly instead of Masters. Additionally, 10% of registered Democrats say they're going to vote for Masters instead of Kelly. I'm not entirely convinced those Democrats will go back to the Democrat Party, and I suspect those Republicans will rally behind their candidate. Why do I say this? Well, the margin of Democrats who are not supporting Kelly is very similar to the margin of Democrats in Arizona who very strongly disapprove of Joe Biden's performance. And I think that will make it hard for them to support a candidate like Mark Kelly, who votes with Biden almost 100% of the time, if not 100%. I think it's going to make it very, very difficult for him to get that support rallied to him. And similarly, I think you will end up seeing the Republicans come home for Election Day. Because right now, they're not super enthused with Mr. Masters because, again, he's more of the America First side of the Republican Party, the insurgent force in it. But I think at the end of the day, they're going to vote for Masters, or most of them will. And similarly, the independents are slightly 5-point lead for Mr. Kelly right now. But since Miss Lake is really dominating the independents, I think she, if nothing else, might actually carry Masters over the line regarding independents on this vote, on this ballot here. I think you will probably see a lot of independent voters mark her down on the ballot and then be like, what the heck, put Masters on as well, when they might be on the fence right now. Again, this is a supposition, but this is supposition based off of history where Kelly wildly underperformed his August polling, and what we have now is July and August polling. And he wildly underperformed that last time. So I suspect when you actually go to look at the race in November, it's either going to be razor sharp margins for Kelly or Masters will dig out a win here. Now, it's not a guarantee. And right now, Kelly is projected to win. But, this is a big but, the raw numbers are a concern for Kelly. His path to victory here pretty much boils down to he has to convince Arizonans that he actually is his own politician and not just to vote with Biden. Because Arizonans very, very strongly disapprove of Biden. And if Masters can successfully point out and link to the average voter that Kelly just votes 100% of the time with Biden, I think that will sink Kelly. It'll be hard to come back from that. But you will see going forward. And again, there's not 100% confidence on all of these counties, but we will see. So I will just wrap this up here. Relatively short, quick one for the state level races. So if you like this, I mean, by all means, like and share the video. Comment below what ones you want to see next. I will just say the next one I am working on is Pennsylvania. I do not have an ETA for when that comes out. I also have a very busy schedule, so I might be done projects, and it might be a while before they actually come out. And at some point, probably closer to October, I might be updating these when we have more polls. We will see. A lot of these state level races don't actually get that many polls. So, or at least polls that are useful for me, so we will see. But with that, I bid you adieu, and I will just like to remind any Canadian viewers who are interested, or I suppose anyone interested on the Conservative leadership race in Canada, it is coming out. It is happening on Saturday, the 10th. I will be doing a live stream roughly 6:30-ish start time, Eastern time, plus or minus a bit. I'm still relatively new to doing live streams, and I don't really have a proper studio, so there can be a lot of delays to get up. But that is the plan, and we're going to be going through and providing commentary on what is happening in that nomination process. And on Sunday, we have a Quebec election update coming. Otherwise, I will see you all hopefully Saturday, but if not, sometime in the future. Otherwise, have a good day.